Heroes of Israel 24. My name is Dvir Fisher, and I welcome you to the first English episode of this podcast. My goal is to give a voice to those who got injured physically, emotionally, and mentally following the war that started on October 7th, the Iron Swords War. In this episode, I'll share my personal story and how it led me to start the podcast. Just before we start, I'll let you know that the next two episodes are going to be in English as well, so stay tuned. Here with me is my very good friend, Joel Schrieber.
Hey, how you doing, Dvir?
I'm good. Are you ready to start?
Yeah, I'm excited. I've never been on a podcast before. Let's get going. So, Dvir, tell me about the Dvir of 6th of October.
Well, on the 6th of October, I was in Nepal. I started my big trip on August in India, and I planned on traveling the Far East for at least 6-7 months. After 2 months in India, I went to Nepal. There, I was in a peace festival called the Rainbow Festival. We lived in the nature. We slept in tents. We would swim in the river, making food on the fire. No cell phones, of course, no electronics, no signal, and enjoying life as simple as that.
No electronics, no signals, and sometimes no clothing. Hippie land.
We would hold hands before every meal. We would sing songs by the fire, and we'll do together every time before we eat, and something really spiritual and nature connected.
Wow, that sounds amazing. So, how did you hear about this Rainbow Festival?
In India, I met a girl called Aguile, and we talked about our plans towards the trip and everything. And she told me she's going to a festival in Nepal. She described it just the way it was. People from all over the world gathering as a tribe. As I said, no electronics, no phones, just living life. And I said, wow, that sounds really amazing. How did I not hear about it before? It took us 5 days just to reach there from Kathmandu. It was really, really a long journey, but it was really worth it. We got somewhere west Nepal, like right between China and India, something so far from everything.
Wow, that sounds insane. And you always had a bit of a free spirit. You must have been at your best there.
Yeah, I really was. I was waking up every day with a smile on my face, opening the dance door, and I saw the huge mountain above me, swim in the river, do some breathing exercises and yoga, and help in the kitchen, and go collect wood for the fire. And really, it's like kind of like a summer camp for adults. It was really amazing. You have no worries. You just look how to have fun and spread good energies around and just seize your day.
During this festival, what did you find out about yourself?
I was always a free spirit, like you said. I really found myself. Like after 2 days I was there already, I was walking around and I was saying to myself, wow, I'm so happy I'm here. And it's like so me, and everyone here are like me. Just good people who just look to do good stuff in the world. And I would find myself going to those deep talks with people I don't even remember their names. And you get into conversations about life. Every day is an adventure. I don't know, I felt like a different world from everything I knew.
That sounds fascinating. So, 6th of October, you're in the Himalayan, peace, love, fires, dancing, free spirit, best time of your life. Tell me about 7th of October.
For me, it was just another day. We started this day really early, actually, because the night before, 2 people from the gathering got lost during the night. So we went out and looked for them. It started by finding one of the girls. So that was really calming. We started climbing up the mountain. And after half an hour, 40 minutes of climbing, we saw someone coming down. We said, Toby, is that you? And he said, yes. We said, are you fine? He said, yeah. So we said, okay, good. And he was fine. He was lost. He somehow survived the night and just started walking down. And then we just continued the trip. We said, okay, we're already on this amazing mountain. Why not? We did a breakfast. We made some coffee, and we took a picture exactly on 9 o'clock, which in Israel is 6:30, which is when the attack happened. But again, we did not know anything about it. We went down, we swam at the river, did some yoga. There was a big party, only instruments, drums, trumpets, followed by a huge group hug of like 100 people, and I was in the center of it. just like being in the moment and like singing with everyone.
That sounds soothing.
Continue the day, I play harmonica, so I went to a class, and then at night there was a fire show. The fire show was really cool. They got a lot of fuel, a lot of cool people doing cool fire stuff, and I saw one of my friends sitting aside for everyone. So I asked her, "What's wrong?" And she said, "Nothing, just stuff at home." So I said, "Okay, like, do you want to talk about it?" She said, "No, you don't want to know. It's news." I said, "Right, don't tell me."
I don't want to know. You're right.
And then she just said, "A war started." So I said, "What do you mean? Like Hamas in the south?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay, well, let me know." And continued my day and forgot about it.
I mean, for many people abroad, that may sound very strange, hearing about a war in Hamas and you being quite used to it or okay with it. What was your background with this? How is that possible?
Well, it was possible and like didn't look so absurd to me because in my gap year before the army, I did a pre-army program in Kibbutz Sufa in the south, right next to Rafah, the city in Gaza Strip. During my year, we had 2 rounds of like a small wars. We had whistles and alarms, so you kind of get used to it. At some point, you just like, okay, again, sirens. Let's go to the shelter and let's continue our day. It sounded to me like one of those, just another round, and we'll forget about it in a week.
How did the rest of your day play out?
I just continued my day. The fire show was really cool. I went to sleep eventually and woke up again. Beautiful day. Swam at the river, did yoga, and then I got hungry. And around 10, 11, I went to where the Nepalese villagers sold bread and vegetables. And so I wanted to get something to eat. And then I saw a friend of mine and he told me, "Did you hear what happened?" I said, "No." What do you mean? What happened where? He said, "There's been a party, 100 people got killed, there are a couple hostages, they took over a base." "Are you sure?" And 100 people is a lot. And he said, yeah. And like, what do we do? Should we go back? What, like, I don't know. I said, well, first of all, I don't know who told you this. It sounds too much people. So I'll go check. And I did. So I walked to my tent, got my phone, and walked for 2 hours to the closest village for reception. I got to the village eventually. I saw a group of Israeli people already on their phones, crying, making phone calls. I called my family because I wanted to check they're fine. I also have family that live in Shuva, which is a village right between Be'eri and Yiroz. I called my family. I asked them if they're fine. They said they are. I said, "What happened? Like, how big is it?" And my brother said, "It's big, it's big." I said, "How big? Like Yom Kippur, like the war in 1973? He said, "Yeah, something like this." I said, "Okay, I'll call you back." Open my news, and the first headline I saw is 400 dead, hundreds of people missing, and tens of hostages. Israel is at war. And this is the headline I see. So I kind of paused and I tried to go into more detail to understand what was going on. And I saw names of 5 people I knew. One of my commanders in my service, that guy from my pre-army program who served in a special unit. He was 2 years younger than me. 3 people from the kibbutz where I learned, one of my teachers and 2 others. And others like the 5 first names. I see, the first 5 minutes, I understand something is like really wrong. And I started seeing the videos of Hamas terrorists shooting at cars and taking one of the hostages out of the cars. And I said like, whoa, what is going on? And I understood what was going on. Understood I can't stay. And I have to go back. Like, something this horrible has never happened to the Jewish people for at least 50 years, if not since the Holocaust. Such brutal murders and rape. So I went back to the Rainbow. And the day after I left, on Monday morning.
Was there any debate in your head of whether to go back or stay? And if so, what made you go back?
Of course there was. I knew I was going to war. I was in a special unit in my regular service, and I am still in my reserves. And I knew where I was going. And I said, like, I can close my phone and nobody will find me. But I just can't. My conscience said, as a Jewish people who is a descendant to Holocaust survivors, and as an Israeli, I just can't let that happen. Like, people come and do all this stuff. Who am I not to fight them, fight this evil in the world. It took me 3 days to get to Kathmandu, and then to India, and then to Thailand, eventually to Israel. And I landed on Saturday morning. On Sunday, I joined and drafted and went back to my units.
I remember you sent me a picture from Thailand with you by a swimming pool with a cocktail, knowing you're on the way to war. Like, that was quite a strong image. So tell me a funny story somewhere in between the rainbow and entering Gaza.
So we had a lot of time before we actually got into Gaza. Well, I landed in October 14th, and I joined on the 15th, and we just got into Gaza on October 30th. So we have like 2 weeks. And during that time, you don't know what's going to happen. You're mostly waiting. You have a lot of free time. So I would do yoga to my unit, to my platoon. Like every day or two, I would come up and say, well, I'm doing a yoga class in half an hour by the grass. You're all welcome to come. And then the first time, like 30 people arrived, and I found myself, I never ran a class of yoga. And then I suddenly did to 30 people. So that was really funny. And I taught them mantras that I do also before the yoga, kind of like a meditation throughout the yoga. It was really like funny and like even a little absurd, like doing yoga on a grass with so much like explosives and ammunition right next to you.
Okay, so that's before Gaza. Now you enter Gaza. Tell me what it's like in Gaza and what's your story.
So we got into Gaza. We walked. We had a 7-kilometer walk from Israel to Bet Hanon, which is the northern city in Gaza Strip. The bag was heavy and it's scary, but I remembered myself what I was doing it for, my family, my country, my nation, and it got me kind of throughout this night, constantly stressed and constantly thinking of where will the threat come from. So we were there for 8 days, and on the 8th day, we were on our way to attack a UN school, of course, that operates as a Hamas base. They shot rockets from there retroactively after they found also ammunition there. So really a big, important place. We were on the way to attack it. We were crossing a road about 10 meters, and then me and my friend were ready to go. We started running, and then we hear tack, 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 tack. And really, really close to us, I felt the phew, 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 phew of the air just cutting next to me, and I was understanding that I was shot at. So we continued running to get to the house, and about 2 meters before we got to the house, I felt out of nowhere such strong pain. I saw black, and I saw everything from above, like from a drone, like when you lose in GTA and you see everything from above, just for a split second. And then I just felt my soul or myself going back into my body and just fell on the ground. My friend covered me and shot to wherever. 2 other guys took me in the house and started treating me. Luckily, the doctor was with me because me as a medic, I couldn't really help myself. So there was another medic there, and they started treating me. I was regaining my consciousness. I saw that they're starting to treat me on the right side between my neck and my shoulder. It was starting to stuff a bandage there. So I understand this is where the bullet came out. And I felt the pain getting more centered in the left side of my neck. So I said, well, I was trying my neck. I want to see if I can move my hands and legs. So I did, and I could. So that really, calmed me down. And then I said, okay, I can't help myself anymore. I just have to stay conscious, and it will be fine. Again, I told you, I like mantras. I like yoga. I just started doing this mantra that I do. It goes, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. At least over and over and over again. Doing the whole evacuation from the house. They took me on a jeep outside of the border where a helicopter waited for me. That's where they sedated and ventilated me, and I woke up in the hospital a couple hours later.
So it's about 45 minutes and you're already in hospital. And how about your family at this time?
For my family, it was a casual Wednesday.
Well, post-war casual.
Yeah, post-war casual. My mom was home with my 2 little siblings who are 16 and 12. And she got a call from an unknown number who said, hello, are you Dvir's Fisher's mom? She said, yes. Okay, this is the IDF. Dvir is being severely injured, and we're coming to take you to the hospital right now. And she said, okay, like he's alive? He said, yeah, we're coming to take you now. And they did. My mom called my dad. They got a taxi from my brother who was in the army in Tel Aviv, and my sister is learning in the north. And they were all really rushing to the hospital. And they did not know what was my injury or my condition. They just knew I'm severely injured and that I'm alive. It took them about 2 hours to go to the hospital. There they got to the doctors. The doctor said, well, he's been severely injured. He was shot in the neck.
Never good news. Not what you want to hear.
Here. And they basically just waited for a couple hours outside the emergency room while they were looking at the CTs and MRIs and everything. After a couple hours, the doctor came and said, you had a huge miracles. He's alive and he's fine. You can come see him. He's waking up from the sedation, which is when I woke up. And they told me, what happened to you is once a million. And the doctor said, I have never seen anything like this in my life. Truly just a huge miracle.
Okay, so you wake up and you start recovering and you start digesting your injury. And how does this understanding of being 1 to a million, of you being so close to death, how does that understanding stay with you till today?
Well, of course it stays with me. I constantly think about it. I find myself while doing the most ordinary things like brushing my teeth or just making myself coffee, thinking like, whoa, I'm here and I'm alive. Like the sentence, I think therefore I am. So just like this, everything I do, I just suddenly, whoa, I'm here really. And I'm trying to understand and find the reason that it happened to me.
And when this thought that you were so close to death comes into your head, how does that feel? Remembering this.
It's hard. You find yourself understanding this thing actually happened to me. Every time I see myself without the bandages and I actually see the wound, and by now it's pretty closed up, but you can still see it. And it's pretty amazing to like, well, I'm here and I'm living my life normally, trying to, but this thing actually happened. And it's like something really weird. You can't really understand it happened, but it did.
So tomorrow you're planning to run a 5K marathon. You're volunteering with some disabled people. So besides X-Men speed recovery, what have you been up to in the last 4 months?
Tomorrow's a run. And tomorrow is also 4 months since the injury. So I think it's like a nice way to celebrate it. Well, I started the podcast. I was in Mexico for a week. I was telling my story there. And I actually just got back last week from Australia. I was there for another 2 weeks. Meeting the community and sharing my story over there. It really has been amazing. And in general, I'm trying to stay busy as much as possible. Part of what I do, I go to Bet Lochem for my rehabilitation over there. They have amazing facilities where I can swim, exercise, do physiotherapy, and it's a really, really supportive community. And the reason I stay busy is, first of all, because I'm that kind of a person. I like being busy. And I also think that being busy, especially after experiencing such hard moments, you have to stay busy. Otherwise, if you just stay at home, stay in bed, you can lead to depression really, really quickly. So I've been really busy. Yeah, tomorrow we're running 5K.
If you had to say one thing to Dvir 4 months ago, right after the injury, what would you tell him?
First of all, I'd say that it's going to be fine. And you're going to grow out of it, get to places that you never thought you'd get, and do stuff that you never thought you'd do, or at least not now. Stand tall, be proud of himself. It's been only 4 months. It feels so little. It felt like it happened yesterday, but also like it happened 10 years ago. And looking back at what I've done so far and looking at what I'm planning ahead, great things are coming.
And what made you start this podcast?
So like I said, I like being busy. I found myself at home, not doing anything, and like understanding that, well, I need to rest. I have been shot. But on the other hand, I felt like, well, I still can do something. So I decided that I want to tell my story to the public because it's rare, and I think it makes people happy to hear good news. because we rarely hear that. And I think it's really important to share the stories of people who came back from the battlefield, who have been through severe trauma and have been through things that normal people shouldn't, even if they're soldiers, especially if they aren't, because there are so many stories of just ordinary people who went to a party or woke up in their house and their life turned upside down in a second. And I think it's something we don't get to hear about almost at all. And it's really important for us to hear those stories.
So you're really giving a lot of these injured people and people which have been through tough trauma a voice, and it lets people hear, other people which have been through this trauma, hear that other people are going through similar things. It's also giving them a voice. I wonder if some people find it very hard, and also how do you, I mean, I've been listening to the episodes and you still keep it quite light-hearted usually, and you laugh during. What's that like?
The first thing is we're not here to pity ourselves that it happened, but to be proud of ourselves and to grow out of it. If someone who is suffering PTSD and he hears about someone who has the same symptoms like bad sleep or getting angry really fast or any of those symptoms, it can feel, well, I'm not alone and it's normal to feel how I feel. And I think it's the first step of the healing process and getting back to life.
That's wonderful. So actually talking about going back to life, at what stage do you feel like, I'm back to life?
I think when I'll be on a plane back to India or Nepal, and because I've been abroad in the last 4 months, but it still feels like it's part of the rehabilitation and it's not going back to being me. And I plan on going back in a couple months, and I think when it will happen eventually, I will really feel like, well, this is now behind me. It's a chapter that I finished. I can go back to being myself. Of course, after everything I learned and everything I've been through, but like I'm back to normal life.
I'm back. And so are you going to go to the next Rainbow Festival?
Well, there is a rainbow festival always, everyone all over the world. So yeah, just depends when.
I'll have to try it out one day. Okay, I have a few more questions for you. What's your favorite color?
Well, my favorite color is light green
Why?
because it's like leaves in the sun. It reminds me of leaves in the sun and forests and grass.
Army uniform.
No, no, no. No, it's just the colors of nature. Army uniform is a completely different color.
If at all, what's good outcome from this injury?
I found a lot of strength in myself and in my family also. In my parents and my siblings that I didn't know about before. I knew already that I'm calm in stressful situations, but I didn't know how calm. I didn't think I'll meditate after being shot. So that was good to know. A friend of mine told me today, you're taking your injury and making lemonade from lemons. If it's going to share my stories in pre-army programs or going abroad, I think a lot of good came out of it. Of course, I'd rather everything just to stay normal and everything and everywhere would stay normal, but what has happened. And we need to grow and learn from everything that has happened to try and be better in every way we can.
Who do you dedicate this episode to?
I dedicate this episode to my family, my parents, Nathaniel and Shlomit, and my siblings, Yitzhak, Ella, Awi, Bachinoam, because I think after me, they've been through a lot. And I'm sure that when I find myself and think about the fact that I'm alive, they do as well. And that I think they're very strong. And I want to send them a message that I love them very much. And I did everything I did for them. So I dedicate this episode to them and to everybody who has been affected by this horrible, horrible war, if it's physically or mentally or emotionally or all of the above. And we need to remember to be together and stay together because that's the power of the Jewish people. Can't let our enemies divide us because once we're together, we're unstoppable.
Well said, well said. What song do you want to end this episode with?
Well, I'll finish with a song called Aguila, which in Spanish means eagle, eagle. And this is a song that we've been singing a lot in the Rainbow. I didn't even know what the lyrics meant until I checked. And it's just simple about an eagle flying in the sky. And so I want to choose this song because, first of all, it reminds me of the rainbow. And I want us to remember that at the end, life will go on and eagle will fly in the sky and everything will be all right. So I'll put a link for the song in the description of the episode so y'all can have a listen to it.
Okay, let's roll it. Thank you for having me on your podcast, and thank you for surviving.
Thank you, Joel. Thank you all for listening to the podcast. I was Dvir Fischer, Joel Schrieber with me. Thank you for hearing my story, and you're welcome to push the follow button and the bell to get notifications when a new episode comes up. You're welcome to follow on Instagram as well. I'll add the link below. This was Heroes of Israel 24. The next 2 episodes are going to be in English as well, so be ready for that. Thank you very much. I hope you have good news. Bye-bye.